Like, I don't know whether to make this a podcast or a video
Yeah,
because the way this is
I'll
moving.
leave the bottle right here just
Of
because
course.
I have a little bar thing going on over there.
No, I got you. I got you. But like it, like
Yeah.
2020 has, with 2020 being like, it's crazy because they talked about 2020 you're isolated at home, so marriages are getting tested.
Hmm.
Now it's marriages, true test of marriages are being tested because now it's like, okay, are you together because you love each other? Is it convenient? Is there really a bond there? And with all these things taking place, because now the families are now isolated in the house, it's now come to a point where it's now like, do you really love this person? And there's been situations where people have discussed, people are getting divorced now higher because now they're like, yo, I can't stand being the person that I decided to marry.
Um, I don't know. Like I said, it's a very broad subject
Hmm.
because it really depends on the individual.
Of course.
Um, some people um, tend to want to fit into a mold because we live in a capitalist society, and you know, especially living in America, you're used to seeing the family unit, the nuclear family,
Hmm.
and you think that should be the norm. You think that should be um, the way that you should do things. Like, I'm going
Of
to go to
course.
school, I'm going to get a proper education, I'm going to get an awesome job, I'm going to meet a great person, we're going to get married, have like 4 kids, and then we're going to make enough money together to send them off to college, grow old together, and die.
Doesn't work.
That's pretty
That is
much it.
not. Hold up. That's not 2020. I'll tell you
That's
that
not
much right
2020.
now.
That's just in
That's
general. Like,
exactly.
and that's the best case scenario. That's like, you know, we're not counting the fact that you spend all this, you spend like 40 years with this person, that person dies before you, and then you're just sitting there miserable for the rest of your life while your kids are living their life, and then it's a lot.
I
It's
want to
a
be.
lot.
I want to be like. I want to be like bad grandpa. I want to be like, no. I'm like, I'm keeping it 100. Like, if that situation was to ever take place, I want to be bad grandpa. I want to talk. I want to be bad. But I just like. I want, like, I saw this Instagram video once.
Mm,
This woman's like 80, 90 years old, black
mm,
woman, and she said she wanted to jump out of a plane, and she jumped out of a plane.
yeah,
And I was sitting there like, you know what? I want to jump out of a plane.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's it.
2020 has made people realize it's time to be YOLO.
Well, I did say this um, at the beginning of the pandemic. I told my girl, I said, you know what's going to happen? Everybody, and this could be positive or negative, but everybody about to show their ass in the middle of this shit right now,
Everyone's going to.
because it's such a unique situation for a lot of people that haven't grown up in these kind of times. It's happened before.
Of
We
course.
have historical context to tell us that it's happened before when people lived through the pandemic of
Spanish flu.
1918. Yeah, so we know that this has happened on a grander scale, and
Hmm.
not for nothing, with the way shit's going now, it may meet up the same kind of death toll that happened during that time.
And it looks like it's heading in that way too, especially in the
So
tri-state area.
exactly. So it's a very unique time. This isn't like the AIDS crisis that started happening. I mean, HIV and AIDS is still a thing, but like, you grew up in the 80s, you remember the impact of what that was in the community that it impacted.
Hold up. Let's not. I hate to throw this in, but crack too.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
Ooh.
we probably have to do a whole other episode just on that, because that's,
Hell yeah.
yeah, that was a thing. But I think me growing up during those times and me being Haitian around that same time,
Like I
you
say,
had
I'm not Haitian. I'm an
yeah,
honorary.
but
But I wouldn't.
Napolé.
I need to give. Hold up. Oh wait, if I can find a book real quick. I need to give a shout out for Haiti
Yes.
because the way y'all moved the Revolutionary War, y'all was like, yo, we not doing this shit. I need to give a shout out to them. I need to give a
Thank
shout
you,
out to
man.
every my best friends in college were Haitian, and I love
Yeah.
them to death. And to the day that I die, I will rep the Haitian flag.
Yo, the Haitians, the stuff that we had to go through, like even during that whole AIDS epidemic, that was going on in the 80s,
Mhm.
the FDA and the CDC had said something that we were we were we had a dormant aspect of HIV in our blood. So it became this whole stereotypical thing where people, even in our own Black community, people would be like, if you lived here, you know, there was a time where people were embarrassed to say that they were Haitian. Because you say you're
Ex-
Haitian, you're like, oh, you got that AIDS shit.
No, I
Because,
remember. I
you know, and
remember.
being
They
a kid,
a
you're
lot of
like,
derogatory terms and everything like
yeah,
that. And I was like,
yeah.
yo, are you serious? Look, when I went to college, my girlfriend at the time was Haitian.
Hmm.
Fell in love.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
it. That's how it is. But
Word.
it's like, I mean, because she was Haitian. That's why you
Yeah.
fell in love, because she was awesome.
Pretty much.
But the thing that's crazy is that I looked at what was going on with the coronavirus and the way they started like being massively racist towards Asians. I was like, this is what we went through as well. You know, until
It's
we
sad.
until we took to the streets and started marching and freaking literally, we had so many Haitians on the bridge. I think it was the Brooklyn Bridge, and it started swaying.
Really.
That's how much Haitians. I was there. I was there. My mom took me. And I remember us being on the bridge and it was going like this
God bless
under
her.
our feet.
God bless her.
And then we took the thing all the way to City Hall until they overturned that whole thing. And it was just and at the time it was like this weird thing of trying to pass blame for a disease on anybody that it could find. They would say, oh, it's the homosexuals and the gays and the queer community. But then now we also have a strain of Black people from different parts of the world, like Haiti and certain parts in Africa that may be just genetically, you know, uh, they just may have this disease inside their blood. And you're like, that's not true. That's not how it works. So it was the same thing. So when I saw the Asian brothers and sisters getting all kinds of stuff, that infuriated me because it reminded me of that time, you know? Um, and I think, you know, going back, you know, to what you were mentioning before, it's like, you know, we're going it's something that I said at the beginning of this pandemic. I said, we're going to show ourselves. Everybody's going to show who they
The
truly
truth of
are.
they really are. Yeah.
Exactly. How they handle this situation, how they handle each other. And we've seen it. We've seen it a million times fold. Every time you go on the internet, every time you go on
Yeah.
um, the Twitter or any social media platform, you'll see tons of videos of a whole bunch of self-entitled white folks like not wanting to do what they need to do so this pandemic can pass.
How have you, as a creative, made it? Like, how are you feeling? Like, um, as a creative, how have you been making it? How have you been doing as going through the COVID pandemic? Like, creative, you know, eat, live, eat, sleep, breathe, outside activities and outdoors and stuff like that. How are you doing? How's everything?
Oh well, oh, thank you for asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
No problem.
that.
No, because listen, I got hit with COVID,
Yeah.
and when the test results came positive, I got scared. I started worrying about my children. I started worrying about my wife, and we have a 2 bedroom. So my wife was like, "Yo, ass gotta go," and
Yeah.
I took my PS2, my gaming chair, and I was playing Call of Duty for a
Yeah.
hot minute. But
Yeah.
I also had to work for a living, and I was stuck in the room. And I realized that, and you know, after losing my stepfather-in-law to COVID, it was just one of the most dangerous things. And you know, maybe I've been drinking too much, so I'm getting a little emotional. So you know, I
Oh, dude,
apologize.
it's don't apologize for that,
All right,
man.
you know what I'm
Share
saying?
it.
It's just like you know what I'm saying, like I know a lot of creatives are out there like, yo, this is my bread and butter, this is what I'm doing and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting here saying to myself, like, like we're dealing with a pandemic that's rent involved, financial involved, and come, as the news has said, come December 26, 2020, we're either going to deal with people who are going to lose their homes. We're going to deal with a large influx of people. Like,
Yeah.
they just reported today that unemployment went up.
Yep.
How are you doing as a creative and as an artist? How are you? How have you been?
Well, I'll tell you what my experience during this whole thing. back in March, my job, because I work for my regular job during the day, is I work at the 9/11 Memorial Museum.
Okay.
So well, I used to. Um,
Oh wow. Sorry.
I oh man, dude, it's all good. Actually, I'm kind of happy I ain't there no more. I could use the funds from working there, but like, nah. It was I used to do basically it was like Photoshop with a blowtorch and a paintbrush. I used to, the name panels of all the people who died during 9/11.
Yeah.
I have to maintain those every night.
Okay.
So all the like little scratches and stuff, I repair those, make sure, the black patina on there matches and hooks up. So by the time the museum opens up in the morning, the panels look like they were just installed, like pristine and clean. So I in March, my boss, usually how it happens is my boss would be like, okay, we're scheduled to do work for XYZ, XYZ. We got no calls to come into work. And I was like, all right, something's up. During that time, my girl was in Jersey because she was helping her mom. Her mom had just had heart surgery. It was minor heart surgery. It wasn't anything crazy. And she
Okay.
was all good. She was just healing from it, but she was just at home with her, making sure she was fine, like, you know. And she was there. Then everything went into lockdown. When everything went into lockdown, she couldn't come back here to New York. So
Okay.
she had to stay there. She didn't come back until the end of June. So I was there from March to the end of June, here in the crib by myself, making sure everything was all good, making sure everything was worked. We have tenants that live upstairs. Before the pandemic, they had traveled out to I don't know where they went, but they went somewhere and they stayed there for the whole course of the pandemic.
Oh shit.
So I was here alone. There was no one here but me and the
Yeah.
cat.
Wait,
Me and the cat.
I have a question. Did you at
Mhm.
least have a PS4?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey.
No, no. If I didn't have one, I'd have went out and bought one like that. Like I will brave the pandemic to go get this PS4 or
All right.
something. Oh no, no,
Got you.
definitely,
Got you.
definitely, definitely. And it was rough because during that whole time, I had to sit here and grieve by myself of all the friends that I had that started passing from this. And literally, when one of my best friends had passed from it, it was like a few days before my birthday that I had to spend by myself. As my mother lives in Queens,
Okay.
and I am not getting in the MTA New York City Transit on the train to go. I'm not doing that, especially during the
Yeah.
pandemic. As
I,
nasty as those trains are, no.
I I got one. I got one for
Uh,
you. When I
yeah.
got diagnosed with COVID,
Hmm.
I spent my birthday by myself.
Oh man, I'm sorry, dude.
You know what? We toast. We toast. There you go, bro.
Cheers, bro.
Amen.
That's
Mm.
I'm so sorry about that, man.
Nah, it's cool. I was in the house. Surprisingly, by
Yeah,
God's good graces, I
yeah,
was in the house. I hurt my kids and I hurt my wife, and sometimes that brings a lot of energy to your soul. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. No, I couldn't even imagine. And that's the thing, man. I couldn't even imagine what you went through, like going through that and knowing that your family's right there in the next room, and you just can't do nothing.
I know. It hurt the soul. Like
I'm
I
sorry.
Nah, but you know what's crazy? My wife ended up like Chi Chi from Dragon Ball Z.
Hmm.
She whooped my like. Wait. One of the craziest things I've ever discovered was the fact that my wife was Chi Chi from Dragon Ball Z. Goku could take on Jiren, Frieza, whoop everybody ass, but
Exactly.
let his wife right there,
Done.
boom. I
Done.
was and I was scared of my wife for the 14 days I was in quarantine. I was like, I'm gonna go in the room because I don't want to
Just
see
go. Just do what you're told.
exactly.
You're
And that's when
good.
I realized, like, you know what, Goku, I can relate to you a little bit more. And even hold up, even because Vegeta is my favorite character in the world.
Hmm.
I realized that Goku and Vegeta always listen to their wives,
Hmm. And
and
you know
then
what? That goes to show you how much your wife loved you.
Exactly.
because she was gonna beat your ass if you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Because she's like,
Exactly.
I need you here.
Exactly.
Like, stop.
Exactly.
Do
And
what you got to
and I
do.
realized, like, you know
Yeah,
what? Boom, I'm in the house.
yeah.
And then I do apologize for cutting you off. I do
No, no,
apologize.
no, no. It's all. Don't worry
Nah,
about it. It's all
but
good.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like, bro, like, I do understand. Like,
Yeah, it was crazy. And then when she finally came back, we slept in two different rooms for about 2 weeks until we could be all good. I mean, even though there was no contact, like I didn't have any contact with anybody. Look, let me tell you something. During that time, New York was desolate, dude.
I saw
Like it was insane.
shit
Like
look like Escape from New York.
word, seriously. Like it's a far cry from what it is now, man. Like now, I go outside, look like regular Brooklyn. But before, during that whole time, whoo boy, it was silent. It was the silence was so the silence was so loud
Wow.
because even right now, like it's nighttime, but you hear people walking by, you hear cars going by, you hear a motorcycle here and there, you hear something coming from outside.
Of course.
But during that time, silence, nothing coming from outside.
I was driving in New Jersey on Route 10
Hmm.
during the COVID pandemic. Like, we just like, yo, we just need to drive.
Yeah,
It literally looked like zombies took over the world, and unless you made a noise, they would come out to attack you. I've never seen, like, I'm 40 years old and I've never seen no shit like that in my life.
yeah,
And I feel like Capcom should make another Resident Evil movie just because of COVID-19.
for real.
Word. Like, for
But
real.
it's so crazy. So like it was really and even during that time, like I was trying to draw, keep myself distracted, play some games. I watched a crap ton of horror movies, which was I'm a big horror fan, so I watch horror movies I would never even imagine. I'm like, I ain't watching this shit. All right, I'll watch it
Wait,
today.
wait. What was the horror movie? Because it's all about Chuck, amazing
Mhm.
dude. What was the horror movie? He's like, you know what? Let me watch this again because I missed something.
You know, The Lighthouse.
Wait, it's a horror movie?
It's not a horror. It's considered to be something like that. It's more. I call it more of a psychological thriller than it
Okay,
is a horror movie. But it was one of those movies you had to watch more than once. I think I watched it like 3 times during quarantine.
I gotta watch it. No, it's
Yeah,
Green Goblin and
and your man from Twilight.
exactly who's now playing Batman. So you
Exactly.
got Batman and
Batman and Green
Goblin.
Goblin. Killing
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
All right. No, because I saw it. I was like, yo, Patterson right now is killing it in that industry, and I'm sitting there like, my man right now is just killing it. I'm like, yo, all right, I gotta watch this.
Well, the thing is, when you do watch it, you'll see some of those acting chops because they come out. Like
Really?
it's a far. Like I didn't watch the Twilight series. I think I watched the first 15 minutes of Twilight and turned it off back when it first came out.
I'm gonna keep it
And
100 with you. It's the R. Kelly version of a vampire.
you know what? I'm done.
No, like listen. Like, unfortunately, I gotta say this. I read Twilight. I stopped in the middle of New Moon. Pretty good movie,
Uh,
but my man, Edward Cullen.
yeah, Edward. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Edward
That's it.
Cullen. Like, listen, you're gonna laugh, so just make sure your lungs are good. Edward Cullen. He's like 18, 19 years old when he turned into a vampire, right?
Right, right.
So him and his squad keep going to high schools every day. They go to high schools, and my man, when I'm referring to the movie now,
Uh-huh.
they, him and his high school girlfriend look on the wall and they see all these high school diplomas. And it took me a minute to realize that this motherfucker right here is the R. Kelly version of a vampire. This dude is 117 years old, and the love of his life
He's like
just
16.
just made it through high school. And I'm sitting there like, and then he's twinkling in the sun.
Oh, bro. Like, yeah, no, and you know what? The same thing could be said. Honestly, and I'm gonna be real with you. Me and my girl just watched Angel season 5.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there and we're talking, me and her are going back and forth, like, yeah, and then this thing happened in Buffy, that's what led up to this thing, and that's what this other thing happened and everything else. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, that nigga's like 257 years old. And the thing that changed his entire destiny was this 16-year-old cheerleader that's a vampire slayer is creepy and fucked up.
And that's when I realized. Hold on, wait. And that's when I realized. I'm like, yo, Edward Cullen is 100-something years old on the planet Earth.
He's seen a lot.
He's seen a lot.
He saw the last pandemic.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, the fate of hey honey, how you doing? I love you too. I do. The fate of the fate of his love rest. So I forget the years. I'm sure it's around the 90s, maybe early 2000s. The fate of the world rest. Like he's like, yo, it took me 100-something years to find the love of my life in a 16-year-old girl, 17-year-old girl, and I'm like, we really like. We really let this happen. Like this
Yes,
became
that happened. That
exactly.
happened.
So
That's why
and
that's why I love that meme of him chilling with the what's her name, the Kristen Stewart character. What was her name
yeah,
again? Bella, right?
yeah, Bella.
That's why I see like that thing where both of them are sitting down having a good time, and you see Wesley Snipes' blade behind them. Like that was like I love that meme. I was like, just take him out, son. Like just
Like like
out, son.
I'm sitting there and like it took me a minute to realize. I'm like, yo, my man was like he was doing this thing in the forest killing deer just to be like, I'm gonna give me a 16-year-old girl. This gonna be my chick. And 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 then
Bro,
and then he said, and this is the shit that bugged me. He said, "This is a little running joke we have. We just be chilling in high schools." Like that's not a joke.
that's not a
That's
joke.
Dyfus. That's Dyfus. The
Yes.
Dyfus case. Like y'all couldn't just go to college your freshman year and then pull a chick. Like
Like, or how about like not do it at all? Like,
exactly.
just be a
You got
vampire and just keep going. Like,
like
just
be my man from Interview with a Vampire. Be Brad Pitt vampire instead of being Stephanie Meyer vampire,
I
where
don't
it's
know
like,
what the hell. I don't know what. I listen to this day. I don't know any of the. All I know is there was. I follow this one channel on YouTube
okay,
called What Culture, and they usually do like analysis on like the top 10 cringiest stuff in movies or whatever, and they had Twilight as one of them, and it was like the same things that you're talking about was like, yeah. And that's one of the things that I always think about. I'm just like,
you got a
this
hundred
whole
year
entire
old
that, but
father.
that's the only reason why I even know some of the plot lines of Twilight is because I watched those videos that trash Twilight. So like, but like I just never got into it. But I think, but back to what you were talking about as far as uh like certain horror movies, like that was like Lighthouse was one of them because it perfectly like the whole aspect of isolation because it was just the both of them,
Okay,
and they had to be there for months and just the both of them and get used to each other. It was just one of those things, and the dynamic between the characters which was just insane. Like I loved it. It was like a lot of stuff that was going on.
as as a funny you mention that because I was thinking about it, like because you know your wife to
Mhm.
be, because I'm throwing it out there in the universe, your wife to be had to take care of her family, and you was
Mhm.
in the house by yourself and
Mhm.
isolated. How did it affect you? COVID outside, your wife is gone, and you're like, yo, I gotta hold it down like Dragon Black. Like, how did it create the man that's going to be ready for 2021?
Well, I will say this: it was a very unique situation. I've never been in that before in my life. And here's the funny thing: I'm used to just being isolated, working on stuff.
Okay.
Like, fuck the outside world. I'll just be in here doing what I do.
Okay.
So being alone and solitude is not new to me, but it was the aspect of despair because I had to worry about multiple things at once. You
Okay.
know, even before hearing some of my friends that passed from it, I was worrying, how is my mom doing? How is my aunt doing? How is my uncle doing? How is my girl doing? My general friends, people that I care about, other people in my family. It's just like, it's not just a one thing that affects a certain aspect of the world. And then you're just like, well, we're over here. I don't think it's gonna fuck with us. And then it's like, it's no, it's here on your doorstep.
Yeah.
And you're worrying about all these things at the same time. And you're sitting there like, and of course, you got a piece of crap in the office that's not doing
Of
any kind
course.
of leadership at all.
He is the
Not,
Grinch of
in fact,
2020.
say what?
The Grinch of 2020.
Exactly. He's that guy. And
Yeah.
and so it became one of those things where I was just like, I started thinking about um, certain things that I used to get worried about that didn't seem to worry me so much anymore. Um, you know, especially when it comes to trying to be your own person, trying to put your artwork out there or trying to do certain things. Like, there is no standard, there is no way of doing things. And we're not talking about just artwork in general, we're talking about everything. We're talking about, like, even
Living.
you doing the podcast. It's like, you just take it upon yourself, just fucking do it,
Of course.
because we're only promised this. That's it.
Amen.
We
Yo,
don't know what's going to happen after we die. Like,
no,
many people have different philosophies about it, and that's all well and good. And what your belief is, your belief is. But this is it, man. This is
of
what
course.
you. This is where you at. Make the best of it. And at this point in time, what COVID did was show people, and this is the reason why you have a lot of people running around going crazy, especially here in America. You have all these white folks losing their minds. Like, I ain't putting on no damn mask. It's because they're in this cognitive dissonance. They don't know how to deal with this because they never had to.
Because you feel as though you're in power, and then next thing you know, you realize this is something you can't control, and it can
Yeah,
affect you. And like, this is something that's outside of your hands,
yeah.
and no matter how much money and power you have, it can take you out.
Hmm.
Got you.
No matter what you say or do, it's there.
Got you.
There's nothing like, were you gonna argue with, if a tornado is coming towards your crib right now, were you gonna sit there and reason with it? No.
Nope. You're gonna disappear.
You're
You're
gonna
gonna
run
dip.
and hide.
Pretty much.
That's all it is.
Here's the next question.
Okay.
Now, COVID has definitely wiped out cons and everything like that and stuff like that. Will you be will you be in New York Con? Will you be at New York City Comic Con or Anime NYC in 2021? If everything is
If
good, by the way.
if everything is good by then, yes. If
Gotcha,
everything is still a shit show, nah.
gotcha. I got you. I
Straight up
got you.
and down. I'm not. Look, listen. One of the best things that I do love about cons is getting a chance to meet people like yourself and everybody else that likes the comics that I do and all this stuff and everything.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like not at the risk of your health and your life.
No,
So it's I'm not trying to be out there and try to brave it through to make a statement. You know, it's and I'm not gonna stop what I'm doing either.
no, please don't,
So, like,
because
it's just this, it. So if you You're not gonna find me at the con, but you can find me online. Anywhere you go,
Got
anywhere
you.
you look it up, you can find me, and I'll be there.
Now, I do need to know this. Volume 3 just got released.
Hmm.
Please tell me about Volume 3. What does Volume 3 contain for the viewers?
Well, the thing about Volume Three is it's kind of okay. It's kind of not Volume Three, but it is Volume Three in a way. It's I called it top shelf hits
Okay,
because when you go to a bar, you have the top shelf,
exactly.
liquor that's there. That's mad expensive. That's like the whole thing where you're like, oh, that's how much is that one shot? It's like $20.
$20.
And you're like, wait, exactly. And you're like, wait, what? Why? So you have like this, thing. So it's a collection of bounce comics that have never been published that are my favorite, that are just is collected into one big thing. What I am planning on doing is, and I'll tell you here, but I still have to plan for it, so I can't give you an exact time, date, or
Of course.
whatever. But I am planning on doing a Kickstarter where I do the Bounce Compendium, which is every single comic I've ever done in one big. Yeah, those two.
Bruh,
Look, listen, I have enough bounce strips to for like five of those. So
bruh, I'm just letting America know right now that this right here, you need to get this. Hold on, because I want to make sure you need to buy this right here because this shit right here, you can smell the positivity and the energy.
Oh man,
You can
thank you,
smell,
man.
no, like all jokes aside, like I'm not trying to lie to you. Anybody that comes on Region 99, I will co-sign on. This right here is the thing that you need to do.
Yeah.
You need to read it. And since we're pretty much isolated in America anyway, order it. You got to do what you need. You got to get it. It's a really great comic strip. And if you've ever been to a party or went to a club, it is literally like the bouncer's perspective and the energy and like we've never ever thought. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase it.
Mm.
Going to a party and you see bouncers, we've never ever took the opportunity to examine what the bouncers actually think of the environment.
Mhm.
But in actuality, it's the bouncers that controls the environment that allows people to enjoy themselves and have a safe and great time.
Yeah.
And that is what Bounce Comic is all about because some of the shit in there is so comedic that it's like only a bouncer would know how to respond to that situation. And Chuck Collins, ladies and gentlemen, is quite possibly one of the illest bouncers. He moves like a sage, but he attacks like Wolverine if he feels threatened. And the comic and literally the comic strips that he created, the graphic novel that he created, is a true testament of how he moves as a bouncer and the wisdom that he's been providing to people who he whoops their ass with. He's like, he's literally like all jokes aside, he's the black bouncer version of Goku. I, you know,
Oh
I
God.
no, like keeping it real. You know, I had to whoop your ass, right? Because you were doing this. He's literally like giving you a lesson as to why he kicked your ass, which is why Jiren and Goku at Dragon Ball Super was like Jiren was like, you know what, I I love the fact that he whooped my ass and I respect him even more. That's him.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? And that's actually a good assessment. And I never thought about that before. But I've always thought about one of my favorite characters is in fighting games. And I know it's very cliche. One of my favorite characters of all time is Akuma. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because he has a super move, which is called the Raging Demon. Now, a lot of people think that Akuma is evil.
He's not though.
He's not.
He just wanted to get better.
The symbol, he finds enlightenment through strength. He finds enlightenment through training. He finds enlightenment over anything that stands in his way. So he is just following. There is a me and my boy have been having an argument about this for years, which is not really an argument, but it's more of a discussion about it. Is that he's based on an old Shinto Japanese Buddhist called Fudomayo,
Okay.
who used to, um, he was a warrior, stood for justice, and would not only beat your ass, but put you on the path of enlightenment after he did. And and then, but the thing about it is Super alone, which is called, the Raging Demon, apparently, like, American standards.
Of course.
But it's inflicting the same sins that you've inflicted on everybody else. So if you evil, you done. But if you've been a good person, he does it on you, you'll be fine. Like, that's just what it is. So that's like how usually, I've always tried to make, when it came in terms of that, I was like, yeah, maybe the bounce is like a low grade version of Akuma on that level. But that's about it. I try not to compare to like other anime characters, because it's like, you get stuck in this thing of like, having to constantly try to like, oh, he's this version of or that. And
Nah,
but
I
at the
can
same
honestly
time, yeah.
say, I can honestly say that the Bounce comic strips and the graphic novel that you created is an original. Like, it's so original. Now, of course, anime has certain themes that correspond with it,
Mm-hmm.
but the energy that you created is a lane. You created your own lane for yourself, and the graphic novels that if you've ever been to a club in anywhere in America,
Mm-hmm.
boom, they're gonna like, yo,
That's
I
it.
know
Yeah.
exactly how this is going on. Like, how does it feel knowing that you created a niche for bouncers? Like, I've never read a novel or a book or anything that encompasses bouncers. Like, hey, this is what I used to have to do growing up. Like, even Dave Chappelle was like, yeah, when we visit the Prince house and stuff like that. But the
Mm.
point of view of the bouncer, who you've seen everything under the sun,
Yeah.
spring break, Christmas break,
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving break, regular days, election days, stuff like that. How does it feel knowing that you're the pioneer of the point of view of the people who are on the front lines of establishments of drinking and in the middle of establishments of drinking?
Oh man, you're asking for a lot. First off, thank you for that praise, because that's wow. Um, I don't. I honestly just feel like a dude who literally just took what I went through at a particular point in my life, because bouncing it fell in my lap. It wasn't a thing that I was like, oh, I want to do this.
Okay.
I'm gonna do this like right now. Like, oh yeah, you just hook it up. It was. I'm a large black man. I can make money,
And you
and
could
at the time,
and you could be a WWF superstar if you wanted to.
oh God, please, I wish. Not now. Not now in my life. I'm at the point now. I'm like, I messed up my shoulder, so
Okay.
I'm like, I got no knuckle here anymore.
Really?
Like, I'm done. Like, I can't. Like, I did all of that stuff that I went through when I was bouncing. Like, that's the reason why I had to retire. I'm like, I can't do another 5 years of this. Like, I'm gonna be done. But I think it was one of those things where I just wanted to take a certain portion of my life that was very unique, that didn't have uh, that I could, a story that I could just tell that other people would relate to, whether it's, you're a frequent person that goes to the bar, or whether you just have some problems in your life you don't know how to navigate, whatever the case is, that's all it was. It to me, it was more, I guess you would say, therapeutic for me to write these stories down and make them alive in a comic.
Got you.
So there was no uh, organization to this. It just flowed the hell out, and I think that's one of the things um, that mean a lot to me about this whole thing. Is it came out. It wasn't. I didn't plan for it. I didn't, you know, uh, do anything to manipulate it or anything else. It was just shit. There's some stories to tell here. Like if you and I were just hanging out one day and I just started telling you about my old bouncer stories, you'd be like, yo, god damn, this needs to be a movie. I'd be like, word,
Exactly.
you should.
For
And
real.
then that's kind of where it came from. It was like, okay, maybe I do have a few funny stories to tell. I'll just do it in the best way that I know how. I know how to draw. I used to work in animation. We just do this webcomic.
Chuck Collins, you created a masterpiece
Oh,
because
thank you.
like all jokes aside, like everybody has been to a club, a bar, and they've always seen the bouncer, but we've never understood what the bouncer's thinking when one, they have to enforce the rules of the club, or two, the closest thing we've seen is Roadhouse, and I think after that it just died out.
Yeah, Roadhouse was a little. Listen, the only one thing that I will say from Roadhouse that has validity is his whole speech when he's retraining the bouncers
Be
of
nice.
the club. Yeah, be nice. And that's the only one thing I will say. All that other shit was just like crazy Hollywood nonsense,
Of course.
nonsensical stuff. But that whole thing, the way that he handled that situation in that moment and the speech that he gave them was like, I would say that is a code that most bouncers go by.
Be nice.
And it's funny because, I don't, I've never seeked any kind of, I know there have been quite a few bouncers that have reached out to me like, yo, this is the best thing I ever seen in my life and blah, blah, blah. I was in one bouncer room on Facebook that was like, I used to post stuff there. And then people would, some of the other bouncers, because, we're talking about like middle America bouncers, because it was like a whole bouncer thing, like all over the world, but most of
It's a
them were like
there's a
from middle
bouncer
America.
club.
Yeah. And, they would be like, yo, I really love your stuff and everything. I just wish you would stop with that liberal agenda. And I'm like, first off, I don't even think I'm a liberal, but like, I'm more of I'm more of I am on the left, but I'm not that dude. Like, I'm just telling you how it is. I'm telling you, as a black man living in America, this is the shit that has been told to me, and I'm writing a story about it. So
Bro,
I used to get into a lot of arguments back and forth, but like, certain people feel certain ways depending on where they're from. So I never look to get approval or seek approval from any of those, anybody in the same industry as me or anything else. I just feel like, there's a story that I want to tell based on the experiences and stuff that I've been through, and I'm gonna tell it. That's
bro,
just it.
your story is amazing.
Thank
And
you,
the fact
man.
that a black man is able to express these volumes of being a bouncer and an animator and a creator. Listen, I just have one question before we end
Mhm.
because we've been literally like this has been a 2 hour episode almost.
Oh shoot! I just
Yeah,
realized you said like eight,
like
8:50.
we
Yeah.
like this is a 2 hour episode. Who would you want to play you? And if I'm saying it, I want to make sure I say it right. Yeah, Maya,
Oh shit! You know what? And once again, I've never thought about that.
because I'm letting you know right now, and I'm speaking it into existence. Either Netflix or HBO Max or somebody out here, they're gonna get their hands on these issues, and I'm guarantee you right now, I would watch. All jokes aside, this cannot be on Showtime. Definitely not. But
Well,
this definitely needs to be on HBO.
here's what I'll say. I'll say this. I've always thought that Bounce should be an animated series.
You're right.
So I've always thought that maybe I could do the voice for the bouncer, but
Do it.
if it's not me,
No, do it. Do it.
there's only one person that I know right now, which is a comedian that I completely love, but he don't curse that much.
Who?
So I don't know if he's gonna do it. But you know Tony Baker? That's the only
Yo,
dude.
I follow him on Instagram, and I'm sitting there like, "Yo, man, what you doing, man?" Like he always does these little voiceovers, and I'm like, you know what?
Wait, my favorite, and the reason why I even thought in my head, I was like, Tony Baker could be the voice of the bouncer is because of the fact that he did this thing. He's got this cram, with the goats with the heads like cram.
I saw that. I saw that. You know what? You know what? I would. We're gonna speak that into existence. Tony
And
Baker, if you're watching this, you need to speak to my man
yeah,
Chuck Collins. Bounce.
and then I guess for Yemaya, I think I've never actually thought about it, but the only two voices as far as animation that came to mind was Cree Summer
Oh wow.
or Sanaa Lathan, like either one of those two. Like that's the only two people that I ever thought about. Like, oh, I think that voice sounds kind of cool. I think that would be a good Yemaya. Yeah.
What about I forget her name at the moment because I've been unfortunately Exodus is empty. Um,
Nigga, I'm sorry. You can edit that out. Damn, son.
um, what about
Bro, little sips, man. Little sips, little itty bitty ones. Like
listen, this is
kiss,
my
just kiss the
no,
cup.
no, but this is my Game of Thrones goblet that I
There you
bought
go.
from Target.
You gonna need a whole gallon of water after this, man.
Pretty much. Listen. Here's a question. What about Nafisa from Black Lightning?
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
She would fucking kill it, yo. I think she
yeah,
would
I
kill
think
it.
she would. I think she would.
She
I
kill
think
it.
she
Like,
would.
yo, have you seen her on Black Lightning?
Oh yeah,
Woo.
absolutely. Between, well, I was kind of when I first heard the announcement that there was going to be a spinoff of Black Lightning,
I saw that.
and as much as I'm saying, all right, Painkiller's cool, I was really when I heard the announcement, I didn't know what they were doing. I automatically thought it was going to be Thunder. Like I thought they were
Gosh.
going to give her the joint, and the sister was going to come through, and then like be in there with her. But then when I was a little disappointed. I was like, come on, man.
Oh no.
But
They're gonna put her on HBO Watch. They're gonna put
yeah,
Nafisa on
yeah.
HBO because I'm telling you right now, Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus, like yo, I'm telling you
You
right
better
now,
pray your wife don't come in here hearing you talk right now.
she heard me. She heard me. I'm gonna delete. If I keep all of this video, it's gonna have to be a podcast,
Exactly.
unfortunately. No, but yo, you know what? It does feel good to know that we have like the way. Even though 2020 really messed us up a lot, it feels good to know that there's a powerful movement of black and brown creations,
Mhm.
characters, and
Mhm.
voices, and actors and actresses that are
Absolutely.
moving forward
Yeah.
with the black creative agenda. You know,
Right.
because one
And
day,
I
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but then
No,
no,
you're
I
good.
totally agree because it's time that we've told our stories.
Yeah,
We need a lot of stories that focus around things that we deal with as people.
yeah,
And I think one of the things, and even with me doing Imbalance is trying to bring humor to the kind of and I'm not trying to tell you bouncing was not all funny and games. It's a lot of trauma. I've dealt with a lot of shit. I've dealt with, sexual assault. I've dealt with racism. I've dealt with sexism, homophobia, all kinds of other stuff. I've had to defend friends in the queer community that's just sitting there trying to mind their business. You got people trying to fuck them up, and a lot of shit. Having to defend all kinds of stuff. So it's a very traumatic thing, but to try and find a nuance of telling stories where we can have these things and be able to tell our stories. Now, I'll say this, I'd love to see more Black love on screen. And when I mean by black love, not just the heterosexual aspect, but I want to see black love on every level. I'll just give it to everything. And even in the LGBTQ community, I want to see more black love on that level because it's not like it don't exist. It's not like it's not there. So, like, I would love to see these stories, and I would love to see us take to a point of, and it don't, a lot of people be like, oh, why it's gonna be all in my face? It's not all in your face. It's just an aspect of our us telling these stories in our society so you can have a better understanding of who we are as people.
Yep.
Black folks, queer folks in the black community, because that's a whole other thing. It's a whole other thing altogether. It's a whole other discussion. You know what I'm saying? Like black folks in certain marginalized communities in our own that we don't allow to tell their stories, their stories should come out. Their stories should be heard.
Amen.
So that's my whole thing. And me trying to do this and many other creators that I know that do the same thing, and do it brilliantly. Like there are certain people in my circle that I'm just like, oh, damn, I wish I was like you right now. Like
Wow.
it's just they do such an amazing job. And I just love that. I spend more time reading stuff that they do and more time spending time doing like, reading a lot of things that come out of, our community than I do on the mainstream stuff. Like ask me what's going, like Marvel had the whole House of X and all this stuff. And as much as I used to love X-Men, I don't know what the hell's going on in the House of X. I'm like, I read the first 2 issues and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm over that. Like it's leave the superheroes over there. I want to read more what my people are
You know
doing.
what? It's funny you say that because now since 2020 has kicked in, and with all the things that are taking place in America right now, it feels like now is the like oh god, like I ain't gonna lie, man, we've been on here for like about 2 hours, and it's like yo,
I
this is gonna
know.
be this is gonna turn into a graphic novel more than anything.
Word.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry about that,
No,
man.
no, it's not even you. It's just that you know, what I'm saying the spirits when they align and everything is
Mm-hmm.
working out and stuff like that. It's like a beautiful thing. Uh, I guess the minute because you heard about Black and how it just got picked up
Yeah,
by the
that's
W.
that's my boy Kwanzaa. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I bought the comic, and I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, and I'm like, you know what? And it's funny because on the Blur Girl, the one thing that she stresses is Black creators, Black characters, Black content.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I'm keeping 100 because I'm sure that they'll if they look at me and they'll say it. I wrote this thing called Blackface 2020. How in the past it used to be white actors and they dress up in blackface and they do the shuck and jive and everything like that. But I feel, in my personal opinion, that it may have transformed a little bit, where now instead of it being blackface, you have white creators creating diversity content,
Mm-hmm.
and the end result is like, hey, the main entity behind it is a person who's not of color, but all of a sudden they have these black characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I was just curious if what are your thoughts and views in regard to that? Like even though the movement of black characters is great, but the creators behind it are not.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Look, I'll tell somebody, write and draw what you want. I'm not. It's not my place to tell you
Okay,
any of that.
of course.
The consequences that come from it, however, you got to deal with. That's just it. It's like it's like asking me, should white people use the N word? Say it if you want. Deal with the consequences afterwards.
Catch some hands,
It's
I'll tell you that much.
it's like, yeah, exactly. Like for some people, yeah, that's what's going to happen. But at the same time, it's like I'm not going to sit here and dictate what comes out your mouth. That's the whole thing about the responsibility of free speech. You can say whatever the fuck you want. But at the same time, you have to be able to deal with the consequences that come with that statement.
Of course.
That's what the whole thing is. So it's the same thing with all of these other writers who are doing all these things. And you know what? Some of them may have their hearts in the right place. I don't know them personally, so I can't speak on that. But what I will say is, based on what I saw on what I've seen, it is what it is. My thing is, I need for there to be more diversity, not on more of the artistic level, because Black folks are out here being talented.
Exactly.
We can get in there and do what we do, and it's not like there's no resistance, but we can get in there and do what we do. I need diversity behind the scenes. I need diversity in the writers' room. I need diversities in executive producers. I need diversity in showrunners. The reason why everybody loved Lovecraft Country was Misha Green was able to go in there and do her damn thing.
Amen.
The way she did it.
Amen.
And so we need more of that
Gotcha.
versus anything else. And all these people who are sitting out there, you know, like I know no show is perfect. You know, Lovecraft Country had a couple of problems here and there, and that's whatever. But at the same time, don't discredit her for doing a good job on what she's doing just because she didn't get one thing right. Meanwhile, you're going to sit there and excuse a show like Game of Thrones that has close to no Black people in there and have like, and tell a shitty ass ending when it's done.
Oh God, that shit was horrible.
So like,
the last season was.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
My God, it was like,
yo, bro. Like,
HBO. You know, it's crazy because I was like, my wife put me on to Game of Thrones, and I was sitting there and I was saying to myself like, this shit is epic. And mad props to my wife because she can find the winners. My wife has the magical ability to find the winners. But then when that last episode dropped, when the last episodes dropped, I'm sitting there like, do I need to read the book? But then you discover they didn't even have the last episodes to the book. So now I'm sitting there like
different.
Exactly. So now I'm sitting there like I'm like, oh my God, I'm stuck in limbo. So I gotta follow what HBO tells me.
No, but the funny thing is, what was hilarious to me is, and it's the same thing, and me and my girl were talking about this when it came to Lovecraft Country. A lot of people had problems with the way the first season ended and all these other things and all this stuff and how they felt that certain storylines were rushed. I used to work in animation. I know what it's like behind the scenes of being on a show.
Okay.
You know, or being in a network setting, dealing with boardroom meetings and all kinds of other stuff. You, as a Black person in this industry, and you're given a chance to head up something like Lovecraft Country, that's not only successful just on the first 2 episodes, but they put a lot of money into it. We don't, as Black folks, we don't know if we're gonna have this opportunity again.
Sure.
So people Misha tried to cram everything she could in this. And you know what? To this day, as successful as that first season 1 was, there is still not an announcement for season 2.
This is actually true. I guess they're trying to wait until Trump is out of the office to announce season 2.
Look, I couldn't even tell you, but all I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff that's just been greenlit for season 2. Lovecraft Country ain't one of them, and it deserves another one.
It's funny because it's funny. I actually took the time to watch Woke,
Mm-hmm.
and let me tell you, I sat there and I was like, you know what? The way he was able to move the social justice movement through pen and pad, and the fact that he finally was like, oh shit, you woke, like you finally understand what's going on in the world, the Society for Black Men in America, and it got approved by Hulu. I'm like, you know what? I guarantee you. I think you know what it is. I think they're waiting until Trump leaves in January 20th.
Probably.
Like, right, let's do it.
If he leaves, that motherfucker is he's trying to burn the bridge behind him. He's trying to burn the bridge to know it won't get built over again. He's trying to do everything he can before he gets out of there.
You're right. And if it's funny you say that because since we've been talking, Georgia announced that Biden is still the winner. So, boom. There you go. Because I ain't gonna lie, I am scared. Never has 70 days been the most scariest thing in the world.
This motherfucker did more to try to defend his to try and
Election.
defend the election than he did for COVID when it first came out.
Who are you? Oh, bro, are you?
And look, this is a whole other show because I can go into this all day.
So what you're saying is that episode 2 needs to happen.
I'm down.
Yo, me too, bro. Me too. All right. This is Joseph Watkins. Volume 1, 2, and 3 is on sale right now on. I forget the site.
Oh, okay. So I'll tell y'all where to find me and where you can order from on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at bounce_comic. On Gumroad, I'm at gumroad.com/the bouncer. You can buy all the comics over there. I'm doing a sale between now and next week where you can get all 3 comics for $48, or you can order all of them individually. They're all on sale for the holiday. They'll be ready to rock and roll and printed out and get sent by December. So you'll get it right before Christmas. In case if you want to gift it to anybody or just have it for yourself, you'll have it before the holiday. And if you want to see more Bounce comics, my website is kind of a mess right now, but like you can see older Bounce comics at bouncethecomic.com.
Amen. Guys, this is Joseph Watkins with Chuck Collins. Thank you for listening. I know it was a lot to take in, but listen, gems were dropped, and we're definitely going to have an episode 2 coming out in hopefully 2021.
Definitely, man. And thank you for having me. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Bro, thank you for participating. Listen, this right here is a gem, and I'm going to put it in slow pause so you can get the full effect of it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, bro. Take care and have a good one.
All right, man.
This is a Chucky Beat production.